First, we've got Chuck Deneau joining us on the phone. He's with the Coalition to Protect Montana Jobs. Hey, Chuck, welcome back to Voices of Montana. Pleasure as always.
Thanks for having me, Aaron. It's good to hear your voice on the radio again.
All right. Well, it's great to be back. This vote, I believe, there might be a vote tomorrow on this union election rule. You're referring to it as ambush elections, and that was even featured in the Montana Chamber of Commerce's e-update that I received in my inbox this morning. Well, why is this something that business owners here in Montana should be concerned about?
Well, that's right, Aaron. There's going to be a vote in the U.S. Senate tomorrow on this issue we're referring to as ambush elections. And this all stems from a rule that was passed several weeks ago by the National Labor Relations Board. That's a bureaucratic organization appointed by President Obama, and they've come out with several anti-business regulations recently. But ambush elections, what this would do is dramatically speed up the timeline under which union organization election would take place. It would speed it up to as little as 7 days. And as you can imagine, a small business owner in Montana just wouldn't have any time to present their side of the issue on whether or not to unionize. And so workers wouldn't have an opportunity to make a fully informed choice. And so it's an issue that's really bad for workers and employers in Montana. The U.S. Senate has an opportunity to undo this regulation by supporting a resolution that they're going to vote on tomorrow and block this Obama administration ruling.
How many businesses could that impact here, or could that affect here in Montana?
Well, it could affect just about any business out there that wants to grow or expand in Montana. And, I think that's the key point is that we've got low unemployment, or, relatively low unemployment comparatively in the nation right now in Montana. But, looking at it over the past 10 years, we've still got quite a few unemployed people in Montana and elsewhere. And one of the big reasons people are not creating jobs is because there's so much uncertainty out there in the marketplace right now, and a lot of that uncertainty has been created by the Obama administration in all of these rules and regulations that they're passing at the executive branch level. We see it from the EPA, and now we're seeing it from this National Labor Relations Board. Small business owners out there are afraid to create jobs because they just don't know what's coming next.
Now, Montana, of course, has always been a fairly strong union state and the most unionized in the Rocky Mountain West. The unions are backing this rule by NLRB, saying that it's going to streamline what they call a burdensome process that can often stop workers from voting in a union election. That was in that piece in the Hill. Given the strength of unions, or I guess, how strong are the unions in the state right now, and what do you expect for opposition to efforts to block this rule at NLRB?
Well, look, nobody, we're not opposed to the rights of workers to organize or to collectively bargain, but there's not a problem out there with union organizing elections right now. I think the average organization election right now takes about 38 days. So in a little over a month, and we think that's okay. That's enough time for both sides to present their case and for workers to make a fully informed choice. So this ruling by the NLRB is really a solution in search of a problem. And as you can imagine, for a small business owner to be ambushed with an election and in as little as 7 days have to change their entire business model to go from non-union to union in a week, that's just unreasonable. Not to mention that this is a big decision for the employees. They need to know both sides of the story. They need to know how the decision to go union or not is going to affect their job. 1 week is not enough time to make these decisions.
Well, I think it's interesting. Wasn't it in North Carolina where the National Labor Relations Board was picking this fight with the state of North Carolina over right-to-work legislation? Are there any efforts to kind of get right-to-work legislation here in Montana at all?
It's an issue that comes up time and again, but I'm not sure what the next legislative session is going to bring. But right now, tomorrow, our congressional delegation, Senator Tester and Senator Baucus, has an opportunity to help small businesses in Montana by supporting this resolution that's going to be in the Senate, and they can make a real difference now. They can send a signal to Montana's small businesses that yes, you can start hiring, start growing. We're going to create some certainty here in the business climate.
What types of businesses have you been hearing from so far that may be a part of this coalition? I know I mentioned that, of course, the Montana Chamber of Commerce is equally as concerned about this as you are. But what are the businesses that you're actually hearing from? Who's speaking out on this issue?
Well, it really runs the gamut. And in Montana, there's we see a lot of concern in the ag community. That's been coming up a lot lately with some of the Obama's regulations coming from the EPA on dust. There's some child labor concerns. So this NLRB regulation really cuts to small businesses, Main Street businesses in Montana, and so that's where a lot of the concern is coming from. We're seeing it all over the place, and I want to emphasize that it's just not businesses that are concerned, but workers should be concerned as well, because this affects their livelihood, and they do have a right to be fully informed in making these decisions on whether to form a union or not.
All right. Chuck Deneau joining us this morning here talking about this action. There is going to be a vote tomorrow, what they're calling ambush elections, dealing with the National Labor Relations Board Union Election Row. And Chuck with the Coalition to Protect Montana Jobs.